Hi friend, I hope you're doing well. If you're new to this channel, welcome, and if you're not, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about oiling out. This is a process that you can do for several reasons. One reason might be your painting has a finish that's spotty or uneven. Let's take a look at the process of how we oil out a painting and why that matters. But before we do get too deep, go ahead and like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. But most importantly, share it with someone who you think might benefit from these fundamentals. I'm anxious to hear from you, so go ahead and leave a comment below. I'm Kendall Stump, and welcome to the Stump Project. Okay guys, so this is the painting that we're going to use. Remember this from a few videos back. If you look in the shine of the light, you can see that there's flat spots in the painting. Now what causes that? It's just it's really caused by the drying time of the paint. Sometimes the paint will go on and dry a little more flat, or gets absorbed a little bit more into the gesso or the canvas, and it's just going to create different flat spots where the paint that's thicker is going to take on more of the gloss of the oil paint. So how do you correct that? Well, you apply an oil painting medium, and what we're going to use is Daniel Smith's refined linseed oil. And we're just going to give, simply put, we're just going to take a paper towel and we're just going to rub it nicely and gently into the surface of the painting, which should give us a nice uniform surface. Now the thing is, that this linseed oil can take a couple of days. It could take a day to dry. It could take a couple of days to dry, depending on your environment. Another thing to keep in mind is your painting needs to be, at the very least, touch dry. And you don't want to put your final coat of varnish on it until after your painting has been completely dry for at least 6 months. The oil will continue to breathe and emit gas and cure during that time, and if you put a sealing coat of varnish on it, it can prevent that. There are some spot varnishes that you can use in the meantime that still allow the oil in the paint to breathe while it cures, but if you just seal it up, you'll lose benefit from that, and your paint won't cure properly. So all we're going to do is take a paper towel or a lint-free rag if you prefer, and then I'm just gently, in a nice circular motion, working my way evenly across my painting. Some people will dilute the oil with odorless mineral spirits, and that's okay. There's not necessarily anything wrong with that. The only thing that you want to be cautious of with that is the odorless mineral spirits. If your painting is not completely dry, will take up that paint. Now I'm not scrubbing, I'm just applying this evenly and thinly. I don't want it to be too thick. If your linseed oil goes on too thick, it can cause drying problems. And this can take a couple of coats to even out your shine too. So don't think you're just going to get it in one. I mean, you could. It's possible. I had a problem with mine, and the reason why I bring up the mineral spirit dilution, I had a problem with an earlier set of paintings before I figured this out. Phthalo blue particularly is notorious for this, at least in my experience. I put down the linseed oil and odorless mineral spirits, and it literally lifted up the phthalo blue right off of the painting. And I don't know if you can tell on the camera here. There's this spot right there, the darker spot you see. I can oil it out, and then it comes right back. So this just means that this painting is going to need an additional application, and it could take a couple of applications to do to make sure that everything gets into the painting the way that I want it to. So what you do is once your painting is covered and you're satisfied with its coverage and it looks fairly uniform, you were just going to set this aside and let this dry. And just to show you again, you can see right there everything else, all those other spots that were on there, look to be oiled out nicely. It's just that spot, that far distant spot right there, it did not take the oil very well. So we are going to let this dry, and then we'll come back at a later time and do it again in even coverage over the entire thing, especially paying close attention to this section right in here. So when is another time that you would use oiling out? Well, if you had a finished painting like this and you wanted to add to it, you could, and your painting is already touch dry, you can add some oil to the area that you want to work on. Same way as we did. Just use a towel, oil on, or rub on some oil, wipe off the excess because you don't need a lot. And then just apply your oil paint to that. So that what that's going to do is it's actually going to give your oil paint an opportunity to adhere to the underlying layers of paint. So I'm going to stop here for now, and we're going to let this dry, and we'll come back to this. We'll check it tomorrow or something like that, and see how we are. So I'll see you guys then. Okay, so this is, what is this, about, oh, I don't know, 5 days later, 5 days later, and the oil that I put on there is not 100% set yet. Not sure why that is. It could depend on your environment. I have never used this oil from Daniel Smith before, and this might be a little bit longer setting oil. But another thing that you can do is you can use Liquin, just like we did before, for the same reason. This stuff right here, for the same reason that we use it in our oil paintings, because it helps the oil to cure faster. So I put some on my paper towel. I'm just wiping it thinly over my canvas. The dead spot. I had a couple of dead spots up in here. You probably weren't able to see those very well on the camera. Especially there's one right through here, and it took care of those dead spots even through the oil. The oil wanted to separate from that, kind of sheen off of it, kind of like imagine oil and water. And the Liquin did not did not sheen off of it. It just went ahead and did its thing. So that was nice. A nice surprise. I have not used Liquin to oil out a painting before, so this is the first time, and I think I'm going to be pretty happy with this. See if I can. You can see right across this area here is where the dead spot was, a big dead spot. And you can see that the Liquin just went ahead and took care of that. Some of those other spots, the darker spots, like this right in here, that's just because it's a buildup of paint. So it just looks a little bit different. The sheen on it looks a little bit different just because of the texture of the paint itself. I had another dead spot right over here in this area, and you can see that that Liquin took care of that as well. I'm going to call this a success, and if there happens to be any change of outcomes on this, once this sets up, this should set up by, oh, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours perhaps. It'll set up, and if there's any change in that or anything comes out differently, I'll be sure to let you guys know. So, as you saw, this was a specific process that took several days to complete. Take your time to get this step right, and your final coat of varnish you apply will look great. I hope you enjoyed everything we went over, and that you use this information to create something awesome in your own style. You can find inspiration anywhere, don't be afraid to look, and remember to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and check out my other videos. Let me know if you've got a question, and I'll see you next time.